Well, welcome back to another week's analysis behind the news. I want to tell you that if you like Agenda 21, you're going to love the TPP, or the Trans-Pacific Partnership, whom some call, including Senator Sessions, the Pacific Union. And that's really what it is. They're putting a union together. But there was an article that appeared in USA Today last week, and it was titled, "Free Trade Can Help Protect Our Environment." And they're lauding the TPP because it's going to help the environmental movement. So that's why I say, if you love Agenda 21, you're going to love the TPP. Let me just read a couple of paragraphs to you from this article. And it was written by Bruce Babbitt and Ken Salazar. Now, Bruce Babbitt was Clinton's Interior Secretary. Now, he's not a member of the Council on Foreign Relations, but his wife is. And that's the New World Order crowd, the people that want a one-world government. His wife is part of that. At any rate, in regard to the TPP and the environment, it says, many nations have been unable to implement or enforce strong environmental protections. So the TPP adds teeth by imposing sanctions as an enforcement mechanism. So if you haven't complied with the right thing to do relative to the environment, and you sign the TPP and become part of it, it's going to have teeth to force you into these environmental areas. The TPP will protect the ozone layer by controlling trade in ozone-depleting substances. Now, what's an ozone-depleting substance? Well, gasoline, things of that nature. So they're basically telling you in couched terms that they're going to be able to control the energy being exported and imported through the TPP from country to country. The TPP, the greenest trade deal ever, has placed the environment on equal footing with our economic agenda. So in other words, they're saying basically the TPP has just as much to do with protecting the environment as it does trade. And that's something that a lot of people are not aware of. So if you like Agenda 21, you like the TPP. If you think that, the Pacific Union, the PU, if you think the EU smells, well, you see the PU. At any rate, another part of this is the TPP Commission. Now you can download this. This is chapter 27 of the TPP deal. And you can find all sorts of places online where you can access now the entire text of the TPP. The Commission sets up an entirely new international agency within which we will have one vote, and all the other nations will have one vote. And so any disputes, anything in the way of implementing the agreement and so on and so forth is involved in the Commission, and again, we only have one vote. This literally sets up, this Commission literally sets up an EU in the Pacific. And I invite everybody to go online and read it for themselves. Extend the lines. Read it very carefully and digest the words. Don't just superficially gloss over it in your mind. Digest what they're saying, because they're telling us right out front, if you notice what they're actually saying. It's a very dangerous thing. And again, it will make a EU in the Pacific, a Pacific Union. So it's something that we've got to be very concerned with. The other thing is, if you think it's going to block China, and by the way, we've got more than enough information to show that the TPP is actually the first step in including China. And yet some of the aides in Congress are so, I don't want to be nasty about it, but let's just say that they don't really do their homework to realize that the TPP is the first step towards making China the alpha dog in the Pacific area. And there's plenty of evidence to that we've accumulated. Nonetheless, but even so, China would be able to get around any block that the TPP would do, because of the trade agreements that they're coming up with relative to these other countries, like Japan and Korea and Vietnam, Myanmar, who just, by the way, had an election, which we'll get into in a moment. But China can get around the TPP by simply having all these trade deals with individual nations within the TPP. So that on the surface, let alone what else is planned, and there's plenty else planned, would be enough to shoot down any idea that they're going to block China. By the way, something that we learned from the Wall Street Journal this morning, and it's on their opinion page. You should read it if you can. This is the Monday morning edition this week. China's soft power exposed. Now, what they've got in here is very revealing, because China has been buying up radio stations across the country. They've been buying up movie theaters. They've been buying up all sorts of propaganda centers, and they are starting to project news out to the American people straight from the Chinese propaganda office. And so that's been going on, which is illegal, by the way. They're not supposed to be able, no foreign government is supposed to be able to own a media outlet in this country. The exceptions are the newer types that are out there that everybody knows about, and they built them themselves, and everybody knows that they own them, or mostly know them. And that is RT, Russia Today. That's a Russian government deal. Al Jazeera, which is Qatar, that's part of the government there too. So everybody recognizes that they have these propaganda outlets, but they don't realize that places like Washington, D.C. and San Francisco and others have these media outlets that are owned by the Chinese, putting out all of the various propaganda that they want to the American people. Another thing is that, as I said, Myanmar just had an election. Now the National League for Democracy, I wonder what that stands for, is the official representative to the Socialist Internationale, started by Karl Marx. They have basically two wings of the communist movement. One calls itself socialist under the Socialist Internationale, and then the others, like in China and that sort of thing, have the hardcore surface communism. But these people are all heading in the same direction anyway, and that's totalitarianism. One's doing it gradually and softly and getting people to elect it, and then the other, like the Chinese, if you get in the way, they have ways of taking care of people like that. But at any rate, this gal here now, this Aung San Suu Kyi, is also a recipient of the Nobel Peace Prize and all long list of prizes from various governments around the world that have been given firstly to other communists, and now she's on the list. Oh, by the way, Obama gave her one as well, the Presidential Medal of Freedom, after she got all these other ones. Another thing this morning, which is kind of interesting, in the world news in the Wall Street Journal, Europe migrants fret over future. And it's got a chart of how long it takes to get into these countries. Interestingly enough, it doesn't bring into the equation the countries in the chart that are the real problems. It's got Germany, France, Italy, Sweden, the UK, Spain, Greece, Norway. Doesn't list Austria, that's being inundated. Doesn't list Hungary, which is being inundated. Doesn't list Croatia. Doesn't list Slovakia. It doesn't list so many of these countries that have got real serious problems right now. Completely ignoring them and the situation in this article, which I kind of find rather strange. At any rate, there are a lot of things happening right now. And we're being inundated not just with propaganda from our own government. We're being inundated by foreign powers coming into the United States and getting on the airwaves, getting into our movie theaters, and that sort of thing, convincing the American people to make the decisions that are going to be against their better judgment and against their welfare in the future. I know we all want free speech, but we don't want foreign powers coming in here and propagandizing the people without the people recognizing propaganda for propaganda. Until next week, we'll see you then.